Hello everyone, this is Matthieu Lombard from the World team. Welcome to this video. We're here today to talk about the external sources connector that Fusion Analytics offers. We've seen in the previous blogs that we can onboard data from Salesforce, Amazon, S3 buckets, and additional external sources into Fusion Analytics autonomous database using connectors and basically leveraging the Fusion Analytics data pipeline that is somehow managed ETL on third-party data sources. And today we're going to focus on Google Analytics, which is one of the connectors that Fusion Analytics offers. To do this, basically, what I did on my end to configure Google Analytics, I used a website provider called Wix that allows you to basically build your web platform and integrate with Google Analytics and Google searches, for example. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to walk you through how to create a Google Analytics account and most importantly, collect the account ID. That's the ID we're seeing right below the account name. That's going to be used as the account ID when defining later on the Google Analytics connection in Fusion Analytics. Once we have that set up, we'll create a data stream for one Google for property. That's going to be our property ID that we're going to be basically using in the connection, and that will correspond to one data store. So we'll need to collect that property ID with the data stream. We will then, in order for Fusion Analytics to connect to Google Analytics, we need to enable admin and data API. So we'll walk you through how to set that up and collect relevant information that's going to be required then to set up that service account in Google Analytics. And that account will need proper permissions, read, analyze, and analyze, for example. Would be required for that service account to be set up. Then we'll do the setup in Wix. So we'll create a website. I'll show you the website that I've created. In order for the marketing integration to work between Google Analytics and Wix, you basically need a premium account. So that's one of the constraints that we had to work with. Then once that website is created, we'll need to enable Google search. So there's a configuration within Wix to set that up, and then we'll need to enable the integration between Google Analytics and Wix. Once this is done, we'll be able to go on the configuration on the Fusion Analytics side, that is enabling the Google Analytics feature and creating a Google Analytics connection using, when we set up, we'll see that later, when we set up the data API, we'll be able to download a credential JSON file. And that is the file that we'll be using while creating the connection in Fusion Analytics. Once the connection is created, we'll test it. We'll refresh the metadata. So what that will do is it will basically harvest the metadata of the Google property, the G4 property that we defined. So the property will be identified as a data store. And it will basically refresh the metadata for that particular data store. We'll then set the pipeline settings after that, and we'll create a Google Analytics implementation with some of the dimensions and metrics that are available. In order for that to work properly, we need to make sure that the metrics and dimensions are consistent so that they're validated. So I'll walk you through how to confirm that for specific dimensions, that the metrics that are selected are actually compatible. So let's start with the Google Analytics account. So here we're in Google Analytics. I already created an account called FAW Managed Pipeline. That is my account. For this one, I have two properties. And to create that property, I'll show you how to basically do that. We'll go into the admin section. We will choose the data stream here. And here I already created a data stream, but you would basically add a data stream for a website. I'll create another one. And here you'll basically enter your data stream website and your stream name. But in my case, I used this one here. My stream is called, because the website that we're going to see is called www.mo-rcl.com. That's my stream ID, and that's the measurement ID that I'm going to be needing afterwards to set up in Wix. So here I can see that data collection is not active. So if you click on view tag instructions, you'll see the details on how to set up this. So basically, that's the most important thing that you will need here. That's the tag ID. So once the stream is done, that we have the tag ID, we have the account ID, as well as the data stream ID, as the property ID, will be safe for now. So the next step is, if we go back here, is to enable the admin and the data APIs. So to do that, I'm just going to click on this link here. This link will allow you, once you're connected with your Google Cloud account, you would click on enable the Google Analytics Admin API, and that will produce a credential file. That's the name of the project in my case. Next. And that will generate my credential JSON file. You can then download the file, and we'll do the same thing with the data API. This is the one that we really are after. In our case, we'll do the same thing. And I share those links in the video, in the comments of the video, so that you can go back to them. And then you basically download that account. And that JSON file has basically this structure. If we want to look at it, it'll give different JSON properties. And the property that we're actually interested in our case is the client email ID. That's the email that we're going to be using in the property afterwards, to basically make sure that this account has the proper permissions. So to do that, we'll go back here. In the still in the admin section, go to property access management, and you will see that this is the user that ends with 96YH3. This is my account, 96YH3, and I gave this account the analyst permission. So if I want to edit this, user account detail, oops. If I change the access, if I view the access of this user, I can see that it's an analyst. It has to be at the minimum view. So that's what we want to set for this account. So now all the configuration on the Google Analytics side is done. We want to go to in our case, our Wix account. You would basically do the same steps to enable that. In our case, we have a direct integration, but in case you don't have that direct integration, you'll be able to see those details in the when configuring the data stream. If I go here, for example, if I go to view tagging instructions, I can use the integration to set up Google Analytics to read the data from our website, or I can also set it up manually. In our case, that would be basically the tag that you would need to add to your HTML tags after the head element, to make sure that Google Analytics is able to analyze your website with the ID, with that ID, which is our tag ID for the website, for that data stream. So now if you go on the Wix side, I've created a very simple website that has a few pages, that has a blog, in which you can basically you can navigate, you can log in. So in my case, let me log in with an email that I created for that occasion. And once I'm logged in, for example, I can create posts, like some details. Your services. And then I potentially will receive a response once the admin of or the chatbot will reply. So this is a really simple website. I can navigate the different blogs. I can leave comments on the blogs here. And if I go to analytics here, I'm going to start seeing the live data. I can see that there's one user that has been that has logged in, and I can see the activity of the users for over the last 28 days. I can see the different countries, what were the sessions, the actual pages that have been actually consulted, and that would basically be one use case where you want to you're running an advertisement campaign and you want to see the effect on the navigation, on the traffic on a website. That would be basically a way to collect the data from Google Analytics, bring into Fusion Analytics, and crowd that with the data of your campaign in Fusion CX, for example. In Wix, there's a couple of configuration that needs to happen. The first one is in the manage site manage dashboard. You need to enable what's called the checklist. So basically, making sure that there's a homepage in your website, so that it appears in the search result. There's a description. That there's some required tags for Wix in the homepage, and most importantly, to make sure that the site is being referenced in Google search, so that if you go to Google and if you search for in Google, you'll see that website is actually being referenced. And so that's the first one, and the second one is to once you have that data stream tag that we mentioned earlier. This is the data stream ID, and if I go here, this is the measurement ID. So that's the tag that I'm going to be using in the marketing integration for Google Analytics. So if you navigate to marketing integration, you will see different possible integration with Facebook, with Yonder, and so on. Ours is already connected, but if I want to view it, I'll see that I can edit, and that's the actual data stream ID that data stream tag ID that's required for my data to be harvested from Google Analytics on my website. So that concludes the configuration on the Wix side. We've enabled Google search, enable marketing integration between our two websites. We'll see now how to enable that feature in Google in Fusion Analytics. Create the connection with our data API connection JSON file, test the connection, refresh the metadata for our Google Analytics connection, set up the pipeline, and then create a data application. Now back in Fusion Analytics, warehouse, we go to the console. From there, we can enable that Google Analytics feature in the enable features. And there you'll see the switch, it's already enabled for my environment, but we'll be able to enable it here by enabling that switch here for Google Analytics. Once this is enabled, we can go back to data configuration here. And we'll be able to manage connections. We'll be able to create, in our case, we won't see it because I already have the Google Analytics connection created, but we would go to create connection, select the Google Analytics connection, and then enter the details. If I edit the one that I already have, you'll see that it's using our JSON file that we reviewed previously. This is this specific file here that has the detail of the project ID, the private key, so that account can connect, the client ID, and also the email ID. That's the service account. And also the details so that Analytics can issue API calls to Google Analytics. It's using the account ID from the one that we created earlier. That's our account ID. It's 125339622. And this is the RGA property. In our case, we want to there's additional setting that you can extract the loopback mode. In our case, we want to full extract the data. There's a way to do incremental extract as well. And also we can here list the number of days we want to go back in time, 7, 21, and more 21. That is basically the same, and in the same way you would see here the actual filters, where you can see what happened in the last 7 days, what happened in the last 90 days, for example. So that's setting that you can set here. Once this is done, you can test the connection. So to do that, you would, once it's created, you can, in the hamburger menu here, click test connection and track your request history here. So here, if I filter that by test connection, I'll see that my test connection is successful. Once test connection is successful, you will go to manage connection. You're going to refresh the metadata. Here, refresh metadata. And then once this is done, go to track request history and look at metadata refresh, metadata extract. And you'll see for Google here, I can see that metadata extract is completed. Once this is done, we can create a data augmentation for Google Analytics. So in my case, I created a simple one. We edit it. So here it's using as the source table, as the data store, the data stream ID 358528200. So that's our data stream. If I go back to admin here, Google Analytics. Oh, sorry, it's my property name, not the data stream. It's 358528200. So that's the data store, the source table. And then this is where we need to be careful in selecting the metrics and the attributes, because there's a lot that can be selected. There's some of them that are not supported by FAW, but in order for them to be to work together, we need to make sure that this is that they're consistent. And to do so, Google provides a utility called the Dimension Metric Explorer. So this will allow us to here basically validate that our metrics are so here we basically need to log in to that metric dimension metric explorer. Well, this is checking first to log in. In our data augmentation, we've chosen the content ID, content group, content type, some information on the pages, the path and title, and then some metrics which are screen the page views per session, and the page views per user. And that utility will basically allow it to select the dimensions, and after that, the metrics show us the metrics that are grayed out. Once we're logged in with our Google Cloud account, we can select the Google Analytics account properties. And here, if I want to focus on the content, I want the content ID, the content group, the content type, pages. So here I can see there's some dimensions that are incompatible. It's grayed out, unselected. Page path, page, case title. And then if I scroll down, I'll be able to see the metrics that are compatible. That's the view per session, and view per user. That's what we basically selected here. Page views, views per session, and views per user. Once this is configured, we're going to click next. Here, review the data type, date them, for example, in our case, but it's basically for cars for the metric dimensions and numbers then for the metrics. Click next and save the data augmentation. In our case, we've chosen we haven't chosen any specific Google Analytics subject area, but we could create one through data augmentation as well, or use the semantic model extensions to have it. So once it's done, you can finish. It'll activate it, and you can see once it's activated that the activation is completed after some time. If I go to request history, I should be able to see for full ad hoc. I can see that that has been activated successfully, and that's completed. So what that will do, it will basically create a data in our autonomous database with that that name as a synonym. So now we're going to go into SQL Developer and check the data that's been extracted. In SQL Developer, we connect directly to the OAX user. If we go into the synonym section, we'll see a database synonym being created with the name that we specified in Fusion Analytics data augmentation. And if you look at the actual metadata for that particular synonym table, we can see that we have our five metrics, sorry, 5 dimensions and 3 metrics. And there's additional audit columns, there's source record ID, and the insert and update dates that are internal for Fusion Analytics. And if we look at the data we have inside, we can see the data that the traffic for the different pages, the number of views, and page views per session and per user. Once we have that in the autonomous database, we can back in Fusion Analytics. We see we can create a data set. We have that data set. We've created this data set here. Inspect it. It has the same data elements that we have in the table, and we've created a little project on that data set. By adding up the metrics, we can see. I just get rid of these ones. I can see the different pages and then what are the actual metrics. If I remove the empty ones for the content, I can see that those pages, I can see the metrics of the pages, and I can change the actual layout to a start bar, for example, where I'll see the number of views for each of my pages. That concludes our activities. What we've seen during our session was how to set up Google Analytics connection in Fusion Analytics by creating the Google Analytics account, setting up a data stream, creating the default property and collecting the property ID, enable the admin and data APIs, and then creating a service account with proper privileges. And then in our case, as we needed an actual website to do it, we had some configuration to do in Wix. That's the platform that's hosting the website that we've been using. And on the Fusion Analytics side, we had to configure, enable the Google Analytics feature, create a connection to Google Analytics using that data API connection JSON, tested the connection, refreshed the metadata, setting the pipeline setting, and then creating a data documentation to be able to visualize the data. Thanks for watching. Thank you for your attention, and stay tuned for new content from the Oracle A team.